Background checks for businesses. So in this video we're going to talk about the local, state, and county resources businesses have available to them to perform background checks. The resources are available at the website sheriffsdepartment.net. Come down here and take a look for yourself. I'm going to do an example of how this works. I'll just pick the state of Maryland, and most states will have a very similar process. A couple of states are slightly more difficult than others. Some are easier, just a heads up there. But we're going to pick a state. You do have an option to do a nationwide check just by typing a first name and a last name, and this gives you like a big picture view. It looks at certain databases some public records don't have access to, like cell phone numbers, social media, things like that. So it's kind of like a mixed bag. It gives you that big picture view at somebody's records, and I like to do a combination of both. Get that big picture view, and then if I need to zoom in on something, say like a particular state, particular county, particular maybe even court case, I'll go directly to the state. And some of the more essential things when looking at background checks would be court records, recorder's office information, criminal records, driving records, depending what the background check is for, business lookup, prison records, sexual offender registry. And then at the local level, you at the county level, you still have access to court information, recorder's office, property records, inmates, arrests, mugshots, things like that. So it's and we do cover the most populous counties within each state. So let's take a look at how, criminal records would have to be probably the most sought after record type when it comes to background checks. So let's take a look at that. And every single state will have a similar option to this, except for just a couple that make it slightly more difficult, like I said. But majority of the states, whatever state you're working in, will have a similar option to this. The pricing might change, some of the options might change, and so they have individual background checks for employment. As an example, you can use even fingerprints to make sure you got the right person. You have options for if you're checking from outside Maryland. So read through the page, and it will give you a solid breakdown of what the procedures are for that state in particular. So prices are usually pretty reasonable, and this is directly from the state. I don't know if it really gets any better than that, other than the fact that you're kind of limited to that state in particular. That's why if you do have an option for a nationwide check, that's great. Sometimes it's a good idea to, if you have previous addresses, to actually check the previous states or even neighboring states. It just depends how deep you want to go. So with the state of Maryland, in this case, in this example, has $18 for a state check, and then a state plus FBI. FBI is it looks at like a nationwide criminal database. It's not necessarily all that it's cracked out to be, but it's a great option to also have in there, and that's what most people will typically use, is a state check plus an FBI check, and you're able to do that through most states will have that option for you. So you can also look at court records. Most criminal records do have to go through court, but criminal records aren't necessarily going to show you civil information. So in some cases it might be important for business to know certain things that are considered civil records, say like evictions or whatever the case, something financial. So whatever the case may be, most states will have either a statewide check, and if they don't have a statewide check, at that point you would have to go and do the search at the county level. So it's good to know previous addresses. Yeah, so court records, check the recorder's office. And this is more real estate document related. You have option to do driving records, and for example, Maryland here for $9 you can get a non-certified check, and then a certified check is about $12. So it's all pretty reasonable, and a lot of times this could be done directly with the state. Business lookup, if you need to verify a business, you can do that for free. Also, incarceration records, these would be prison records. Every state has a database, and you can check for inmates that are within the prison system in that state. And then of course, sexual offender registry. Every state also has a statewide database that can be used for free. Sometimes a local sheriff's office will have their own database that can also be looked at. And then, as I mentioned, you have county level records. So going back to court records, if you click on the court specific page here, and if we take a look at how the courts are structured, so depending on what record type you're looking for, a particular court will handle that case. So if it's a lower level crime or small claims or evictions, like the district court in Maryland will take care of that. If it's a felony or family or juvenile case, you have the circuit court, and then obviously if they don't settle it in the lower courts, it goes up to the upper courts to get it settled there. So it's good to know what all of these, and every state will have different structures. Some are going to be more complex than others. This is actually a very simple structure here in Maryland. And what you find on sheriffsdepartment.net is each of these courts, what they do, and if there is an online option to search through these records. A lot of times the dockets could be searched for free, and sometimes if there isn't an online option, you do have to go maybe make a special request with the court to get your hands on these records. Sometimes they'll have public terminals. Actually, a lot of places have public terminals, and you're able to go and research this information. But this has to be done physically, or you have to find somebody to go pull that record for you. And there are services out there that do that if you're looking at something in another state, for example. So there is quite a few resources available directly through the state. I'm going to drop a link in the description, or just type sheriffsdepartment.net in your browser and come on down and see what resource we have found for you.